What is popping, everybody? My name is Justin Woodward, ICJ, co-founder of Experience Studios, The Mix, Black Voice in Gaming, and Interabang Entertainment, and welcome to Black Voice in Gaming, a showcase that celebrates professional developers and folks in the game industry that are doing their thing and making moves. Today, we have some really special interviews and some trailers from the community that I know that you will love. First, Black Voice in Gaming was created back in June of 2020, around the time when we were putting together the Guerrilla Collective during the protests and demonstrations that united us all over the world. As a developer myself, I was having a tough time being heard and creating opportunities for all these folks to break through all of the noise. We built out BVIG in order to boost the voices of exemplary creatives and developers in the space. We have created accelerators of fun and programs to make everything possible. Shout out to our sponsors for today's showcase, Xbox, Raw Fury, and Alchemy Labs, as well as our broadcasting partners, Twitch, IGN, and GameSpot. You guys are awesome. Check out the BVIG Steam event page to learn more about Black Voice in Gaming titles. Buy the ones that are available and add games to your wish lists. Wish lists help a ton. Check out the XP Fund as we are helping to fund dope games. Please donate, and we are going to be sharing more about the development of the games we are working with soon. Enough of all that. Let's hop into our interviews with Rihanna and Derek. Take it away.
Hey, thank you, Justin. You know, from what's out to what's on the way, those ever-growing wish lists of games will have to contend with another exciting curation of developers for Black Voices in Gaming. My name is Derek Fields. I'm an artist, designer, and educator in games. And today, I'm joined by a wonderful co-host, Rihanna Manuel Pena. Rihanna, how are you doing?
I am fantastic, Derek, and honestly, so excited to get into our conversations today. If you're not familiar, I am previously known from What's Good Games, currently at Gamertag Radio, hybrid video game content creator and consultant. And with my partner, Denny Pena, I have seen it all, everything from marketing to making games. But honestly, what I'm most inspired by are the people who have these incredible visions and somehow work their magic to bring them to life. And we get to speak with them in detail about their current projects. And right. Derek, I don't know about you, but this is the best part of what I do.
Yeah, no, I love these moments, getting a chance to chat about developers, getting a chance to connect with their stories, and of course, getting excited about their games. Now, that's not the only thing that we include in Black Voices in Gaming. We also celebrate the music as a component of game development. Games are not without the sonics, I almost said phonics, but that wouldn't apply here. It just kind of rhymed. Anyways, we're kicking things off with a musical component first. Game composer Chase Bethia has some wonderful music that they'll be contributing to the showcase, and you'll be seeing it sprinkled throughout. And so let's get started with that first video.
Howdy, folks. My name is Oliver Nelson Jr. I'm the studio head over at Strange Scaffold. We made games like I Am Your Beast, and I'm so excited to be bringing Black Voices in Gaming Space Warlord Baby Trading Simulator today. It's our 18th game in 6 years, and not only am I so excited to bring it here today because I adore this community, but also because this is one of the best things we've ever made, and I'm so excited to say, hey, because you supported us through 17 games, we get to still be here and make this thing and continue to post-launch take it even further because of you. So thank you and enjoy.
When's the last time you shorted a baby? What, you haven't? Oh, buddy, okay, let me show you. You pick a promising kiddo, you buy stocks in its tiny simulated life. Buy. Watch it graduate, find love, descend into the labyrinth, whatever. Wait for it to be living it big, and then short that baby! Sell! It's not gambling if you win. Tell that to your wife, your husband, your husband. Baby's loss is daddy's gains. Quit your job at Club Smart. Babies are the future, and your future is in babies. Space Warlord Baby Trading Simulator. Out now.
Sometimes, I don't know if I'm dreaming or awake. I can't remember what happened. It's like we were frozen in time. The rules were simple. Walk backwards at night. During the day, and never, ever dream. This city is not what you think it is. They locked us away like lab rats. We're gonna kill them. Every last one of them.
Listen, game development is hard enough as it is, and so you can imagine how much more of an adventure it becomes when you decide to embark on this solo. And that's the developer that we're joined by today, head of Defiant Games, Jerron Jacques. It's a pleasure to connect with you and chat with you about your game.
Thank you guys. Thank you for having me. I mean, it's a pleasure. It's been a real long journey.
Yeah.
Like, I would like to get into that, Jerron, because when we hear about a solo dev, a lot of people can think of, people who have made huge RPGs or people who've made smaller, more narrative-based titles, but it looks like you've kind of split the difference. Like there's a lot here. You can tell there's a lot of systems behind what you're building. So tell us a little bit about what players can expect with Erased.
So Erased is an open world fighting game. So it blends what you would typically see in a combat straight fighting game, but puts it in an open world. And so it kind of puts it in its own unique genre. And on top of the mix of, the combat and the open world experience, there's also this parkour and rollerblading element. There's pets. There's a very visual, specific style that has a lot of culture. And a lot of people will see the game and they'll name drop a lot of games. They'll say like, oh, this looks like Tekken, but then you'll say like, this looks like Jet Set Radio, which are two very different games. Jet Set Radio, you see the dancing, the culture, the rollerblading. Tekken, you see the fighting. But Erased is its own beast because it's not saying pick one, it's saying we're gonna do both. And at first when people see Erased, sometimes they're confused. They're like, what kind of game is this? And it's kind of the same when you meet Me Too. It's a little confusing. And I think it's because it's an archetype that doesn't really exist, or at least there's a 1% of us. I think that my archetype is just rare because, the way that I look, where I come from, the fact that I love martial arts, I love games, I love being nerdy, but also I come from culture. I love hip hop, I love dance. And those things coming together is what created me. And I feel like this game should have existed a long time ago. It just happens to be that like a lot of those traits don't typically exist in one person.
Right. And you've been kind enough to illuminate some of this journey, a lot of this journey on platforms like YouTube. I've seen those videos even come up organically in YouTube Shorts and talking a lot about some of the process. And so as far as that individuality and that uniqueness that brings you to games, can you talk about, what some of those origins are? I'm not trying to bury the lead here, but I want you to give the surprise and like some of the cool intersections that you, in your own background, that you've brought to a title like Erased.
Definitely. So one thing I talk about a lot in my videos is that I do the motion capture for Erased. So a lot of the stunts, a lot of the crazy flips, I'm doing those myself. And I also am doing some of the martial arts motion capture. And so it kind of became this journey of like becoming my video game character. But if you go way back to Baby Jerron, I started out as a visual artist. Before I did anything with game development, I was just always drawing all the time. And I was just a weird kid. I grew up not from a lot of money. And I remember we lived in a shelter for a while. And my mom didn't like talking about it, but I loved it, honestly. I loved the shelter because we got a lot of broken toys, like donated toys. And I remember having like a car with 3 wheels or like an action figure with just 1 arm. And like, I remember there was a kid that would make fun of me, like, oh, your toy is broken. But like, I didn't think it was broken. I was like, this is different. This is cool. I like this. And I remember tying a string to like the broken arm and I was like, he has powers. And so I was always making things up and creating things. And growing up, I had nightmares a lot. And my sister is also an artist. We started drawing together. And I would go in her bed and like, hey, can I stay with you? And every single night I would do it all the time because I was just scared. And she told me like, the only way not to think about something is to think about something else. And so instead of trying to be like, okay, don't think about the monsters, I would think of these characters and heroes that would come and save the day. And so I got kind of obsessed with like creating my own reality. And I didn't like the reality that I was in. So I got like engulfed in these other worlds, and that's for a lot of people, why people fall in love with video games or anime. And so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna make my own video game. I'm gonna do it. And when I first started, people thought I was crazy. And maybe I am a little bit, but they didn't think I was serious. And I was like, no, I'm gonna do this. And I just didn't stop for years. Every day I was working on it, working on art, working on coding, learning it all. And I was like, all right, you know what, I gotta do the motion capture too. So that meant learning the stunts. And it was a nonstop grind. And I remember being in college, no money, couldn't afford a place to stay. And I was couch hopping like hard in college. And nobody knew my real situation because every day I'd smile, I'd be goofy, I'd be joking around. And no one knew that I was legit homeless and couch hopping. But I chose to do that because I wanted to work on Erased. I wanted to go to school full time and keep working on just developing every single day. So I'd be in the library like nonstop every day. And how I did it is I looked at the dorms and I knew there were rules. And it said that you were allowed to stay like in a common area for one night. And I looked at the building, it had 14 floors. I'm like, okay, so I can stay here Monday, then there Tuesday, and I could just keep going and rotating through the floors. And technically I'm not breaking any rules. And then I would go through all the dorms, and then I'll go to another dorm. And I did this to the point where like I lived in every dorm, couch top in every dorm, and knew the school like the back of my hand. And from that journey, it kind of taught me that you can always change your reality. You know, you just keep going, and people don't really know. Like a lot of people, I remember there was a school that came in, a high school, and they were giving tours. And the workers there, like the RAs, they were like, oh, we need someone to give them a tour. And my friend, he had graduated, and he gave me his RA hoodie, and they just thought I was an RA. I never lied. I didn't say I was an RA. It's just that I just had the hoodie on, and I walked in with confidence, and they just assumed I was an RA. And I was like, I'll give them a tour. Mind you, I don't work here. I don't work here. Like, I'll give them a tour. And I gave the kids a tour because I knew the school better than anyone, because I lived in every alleyway, every nook and cranny. And fun fact, one of the high school kids actually ended up coming to the college, and I told him I didn't work there, and he didn't believe me. And I was like, no, I actually didn't work there. But yeah, I just lived like that for so long, just doing whatever I can do to make it. And, you know, I moved out to California 2 years ago, and the goal was to, all right, you know, I'm gonna make connections out here. I'm gonna start posting content. I'm gonna, you know, meet everyone that I followed and was inspired by. And that's what I've done for the past 2 years. You know, every single person that I followed, I grew up in Boston, by the way. Now I'm just friends with them. Now we just hang out, we create together. And what I'm trying to create is this universe that has different connections everywhere. So, for example, like King Vader, to collab with King Vader, he's gonna be erased. A bunch of different dancers from New York, California, gymnasts, parkour guys, all in this one universe. And the real goal is to inspire. You know, that's what really keeps me going. Like, I get messages from people all the time that's like, hey, I've always wanted to make my own game. You doing this makes me think that I can do it. And especially when people say like, hey, and you look like me. Like this, I don't see this often. You know, we don't see it in the game development space often enough, and we don't see it at this level often enough, but we exist. And so that's been the driving factor. You know, I got a video from, it's like an 8-year-old kid. His dad sent it, and he was like, yeah, you're his new hero, and he talks about you every day. And it kind of made me tear up a little bit, because I remember being an 8-year-old little black boy and having these dreams and being like, I'm gonna do it. So like, I really hope that everyone can see me and think like I can do that too. So
That's such an inspiring story, and thank you for being so open and sharing with that with us. And you know, it's fun because there's almost like a catch me if you can element to what you're describing, where you know you just kind of like move from situation to situation and do what it takes to get to the next thing that's really powering your dreams. And I love hearing that you're seeking out people who inspire you. Can you talk a little bit more about who you've collabed with and like how they've impacted Erased, and how you sort of marry the challenge of making sure your vision is what you're making, but also taking that feedback from other people?
that's a great question. So one of the huge questions that people ask me all the time, am I going to stay solo the entire way? And because, you know, I'm doing the art, I'm doing animation, I'm doing motion capture, I'm doing the code, and that's also rare to see at this level. And so I do have a plan. My plan is to complete the foundation of Erased by myself. And then once it gets to a point where I'm just adding more content, then have people help. And what I mean by that is, for example, you know, there's a parkour system, there's a rollerblading system, there's the combat system, there's all these systems. And the systems I want to be fleshed out and to be exactly how I want it. And then it's a matter of, okay, we just need to make more outfits for, you know, monetization. We need to make bigger maps. Those are the kind of things I want to get people on. And the reason I'm doing it that way is because I want my vision for Erased to be exactly the way that I want it. And honestly, there's enjoyment I get by being solo. I've worked for larger teams before in game development. I worked for Roblox recently, and I didn't like it, to be honest. I like game development, but I was making someone else's dream. I was just a piece and a pawn, and I always wanted to do more. But when it comes from the help that I do get right now, it's more so leveraging communities and influence. So, for example, I mentioned King Vader. A lot of the people that I've been collaborating with, they just see my page and just message me, and they're like, "This is I've always wanted a game like this to exist. Let's link up." Vader just messaged me like, "I want in." That's it, 3 words, and then 2 days later we linked up. And what I want from people like him is, we did motion capture. You guys are gonna see the video drop in a few days actually, but we did some motion capture. I made a character that looks like him. He did his iconic moves that you see him do in real life, and I want his presence to be in the game because a huge thing about a race is the community. So like there's a huge dance culture element into it, and his influence of community, I want to be in it. Other people I collaborated with are a lot of them are dancers. So it's like dancers, people in the parkour scene, and the flip community. So I did a collab with Frederick Flips. I'm not sure if you know. Do you guys know who Frederick Flips is? Frederick Flips. So he's an Olympic champion right now. He does the bars, or he like flips off the bars. But yeah, he's like the gold medal champion right now, and I really like him, and specifically wanted to collab with him. One, he's also brown, and he's doing a lot for the gymnastics community. So he constantly fights to make changes in the uniforms and the rules, and he's always trying to bring the community together. He recently launched a national backflip day, so he made it a holiday, and he just like goes out of it. He went to Africa also recently, and like flipped the kids out there, and I just love how he tries to impact the community. So I felt like that was a great collab. So he's also going to be a character in the game too. And I also plan at some point to go to Africa too, and I want to. So I'm talking to the people out there right now. There's a bunch of kids that do flips out there, and they're crazy talented. They have no equipment. They're just flipping in the dirt, landing on their necks. It's crazy. But I want to go out there and put those kids in the motion capture suit and let them see themselves in the games, because that would be, I think, mind-blowing, And I was talking to some of the leaders out there of these like training camps, and they're saying some of the kids like even when they just see a video, it like blows their mind. So I think them seeing themselves in a video game would be crazy. And so those are the kind of collaborations I want to do. People that are impacting the community is my goal. Not so much developers. So I get messages literally every single day. Like not a day goes by, people asking to put their music in the game or to voice act. And I understand why. A lot of people see it and they see, the stylish, the hip hop, the music, the culture. I haven't done it yet because it's very specific in the music that I'm trying to create. And a lot of the times, not that the people aren't talented, it's just the music isn't what I'm looking for. It's very much standard, just like I'm making video game music. But a race is just not standard. It's not standard at all. And what I want to do with this community, for example, there's a graffiti element in the game. What I want to do is I want to use real people's art. I want them to have like a market. Like if you purchase the graffiti in the game, you see the actual person's name in real life. And I want to make it connected to their community. If you buy this asset, you get a discount if you follow their page, things like that. And I want to set up the same similar system with the music, where I want people that aren't necessarily big, other independent artists that are talented, their music to be showcased in the game. But when it's playing, you see their name, and somewhere in there so that you can go check them out. And that's something I want to build with the race.
Yeah. Wow. Jerron, you have an incredibly big and warm heart. And I've been spending this entire conversation with my emotions, like right here, just trying to hold them back just enough. Because as you share your story from your personal experiences to the intentions that you want to bring to everybody else around you, it's wonderful. And I love how much impact that you're trying to put out there. So I have to put that out there. Okay, reeling it back in. Speaking of community, speaking of how you're building things out in this plan that you've put a lot of consideration to, and I think that's magnificent. You've also been a recipient of the XP Fund, and what the XP Fund offers is a little bit of capital to be able to work on these projects and enact yourself, in the vision that you have. As far as the milestones that you have set out and the plan that you have for yourself, has that allowed you to embark, make a concerted effort on some of the intentions that you were just talking about? Is there anything that maybe has changed in your schedule now, being able to, have something like the XP Fund to be able to like back up those intentions?
Absolutely. On that note, first of all, shout out Justin. I love Justin. Like I want to tell a real quick story. on my experience with Justin. So we had first interacted with Justin. He's one that helped me with the XP fund. Yeah, he had seen my Instagram. We had talked over, and it was Comic-Con. It's the Comic-Con or Anime Expo? Comic-Con. It was Comic-Con, and I was going to Comic-Con. I didn't have a booth or anything, and what I did is I took a dolly, and I had this giant monitor, and I had it just flashing screens of images of my game, videos of my game, me doing stunts. And I pushed it around, and everyone was like, "Oh, what's this? Check it out!" And I had my laptop, and I was like, "You want to play?" And I had my like mobile booth, just walking around with it, which was crazy, and people loved it. But there was that one security. It's crazy because there was just one lady that didn't like it, and she was like, "You can't do this because this is technically considered self-advertising, and you don't have a booth." Justin was not having it. He was like, "No, we're not doing that." Called me up, and he was like, "I'm bringing you a badge right now. Security's letting you in." And it was amazing. He came with the badge. He was like, he's at our booth. And security couldn't say anything. They're like, "Well, if he's at your booth," and he was like, "Yes, he is." And he brought me to the booth with the mix, where they were showcasing other independent games. And he sat me down and I cleared off a section just for me, man. He was the best in game, and I had a TV, and I got to showcase my game at the booth, and that's been super helpful. And since then, we've been locked in. And that's when he was like, "Hey, man, like we can help you out with the funding," and the funding allowed me to finally quit my day job. So I was working at another game development company, a smaller company, Gamer Cove, and my dream was to just go independent, because I was splitting half my time, developing my day job, and then whatever hours I have, I can work on a race, and I just wasn't sleeping. I still don't sleep, but at least I'm not sleeping and working on my game all the time, so it allowed me to do more. And since then, man, since getting that grant, I've been on BlurredCon is flying me out and to Virginia next month, and I'm going to actually have a booth at BlurredCon, and I'm also going to have a panel. I'm going to have 2 panels, which is amazing. And so I'm going to be able to showcase the race. I'm going to be on stage talking about a race, and so it's been super helpful. In addition, Justin also got me to the Dice Summit.
Yeah, very good.
That would have been almost $4,000 I would have had to pay to go something like that, and he got me in for free. So the XP fund has been amazing. It's been super helpful. And I'm just really learning about my journey that just keep being authentic, and people see it and they sense it. And there's been so many snakes that have tried to wheedle in. And the XP fund was actually the first place that I was like, no, this is where I need to be. There are a lot of people that are like, hey, I want to invest, but you can always tell, like, they'll come in like, hey, this is going to make money, because a race is going to make money, but that's not the goal. That's a secondary, thing it's just going to happen. But a lot of people, they come in, and for example, I'll tell you about this one company. I won't say their name, but they came in, they're like, hey, we want to invest, but you can put the game out now if we just take out all this stuff. We don't need all these characters. We don't need all these hairstyles. Just take this out and put the game out now. You'd make a ton of money. And I was like, nope, you don't understand what a race is about. Because we need all the hairstyles. We need all of it. We need the curls, we need the locks, we need the twists. We don't just need 2 hairstyles. And that tells me that he doesn't understand what I'm trying to create. He understands that it's a business, and it is, but it's a business second for me. And I think that the XP fund was so different because talking to Justin and people on board, they get what I'm trying to create with the race. And that is more important to me than whatever money someone's throwing at me. So, yeah.
Yeah, wonderful.
Derek, and I'll let you take it home since we're almost out of time on this one.
It sounds good. No, it's good. Trust me, the yap has been wonderful. You said you wanted to touch people, and I've certainly been reached. It's been a joy to hear your story and even seeing it before this moment. In wrapping up, can you remind audiences where they can find Erase, where they can find you to keep up with it? Because you mentioned wish lists, and those are important too.
Yes, so you can wishlist Erased on Steam now. So even if you just Google Erased on Steam, it pops up. It's the first one I checked, and you'll find it. Also, you can find me on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. It's all the same handle. It's my name, Jerron Jacques. So Jerron, and then my last name, Jacques. So just look up Jerron Jacques. And on these, you'll see YouTube Shorts, TikToks, and Instagram. You'll see behind the scenes. You'll see some time lapses of how I create the characters. You'll see some motion capture work and how I make the animations. And you'll see all these collaborations that I'm talking about with these influencers, dancers, martial artists, parkour guys, and all that.
Yeah, we look forward to seeing more. Thank you so much, Jerron.
Thank you. Oh, one last thing I'll add, because everyone asked this.
Yeah, please.
The wish list is on Steam, but I do have plans to port to console for PlayStation, Xbox, and Switch.
Good to know. Good to know. You got collaborators out there to help back you back you up now, so it's good.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Hi, hello. My name is Lori, and my pronouns are she, her, and you can find me streaming all sorts of games on my Twitch channel, specifically RPGs and JRPGs. Indie games have been so life-changing for me. There are so many stories that I have experienced through indie games that I have not seen anywhere else. Through character design, the uniqueness of the gameplay, but especially being able to see myself represented in so many stories and these amazing characters. There has always been something special to experience through these games. Here is another exciting selection of Black-led indie games that are up and coming.
Voltage.
Yo, what's up, viewers? I'm Mr. Dean, and this is Deadly Metropolis. First off, I'd like to thank Black Voices of Gaming for having me. It is an honor to finally present my game via a showcase. This project has been in development for quite a while, and I managed to show the game off at a couple of events, one of them being Fighting Evolution 2025. And up until this point, I have been funding it myself. We're currently a small team of 3 with a few contributors to the project. And of course, if things align, we'll have a demo for you to play this year. So enough rambling out of me. What is Deadly Metropolis? This project is my love letter to beat 'em ups, as well as games made back in the 2000s. Experimental games that did a lot of crazy things, back when things were a little risky, a little ambitious, and that's something I want to bring back to the genre. In this game, you follow the Brewstar crew, that being D-Tag, the all-rounder, who is our current starter character and nearly complete, Songbird, the speedster, who will be next in development, and Kibo, our resident powerhouse and grappler. If you've been following the project, you already know of these 3 characters, but there are plans to extend the roster with more characters as the game develops. The project as a whole is quite ambitious, but I am keeping things realistic. As I mentioned before, up until this point, I have been funding the project myself, but this is where you come in. March 1st is the launch of our Kickstarter campaign, which will come with many perks for all of our backers, including beta testing, various other types of cameos, and if you're crazy enough, you'll be able to sit down and create a character with us. Day 1 backers of the beta test build and above will get the earliest build of the game, while other backers will get succeeding builds. In the meantime, we will continue working on the Wastelands demo. My goal with the upcoming demo is to include D-Tag, 4 enemies, and a full stage. As we get closer to the launch of the Kickstarter, I will have more information for you. Once again, thank you Black Voices in Gaming for having me, and I look forward to your support.
We're here for one reason. To get back what was taken.
How are you going to do that?
Sometimes heroes have to be outlawed.
No alarm on the glass. I'm in.
Make sure you've planned your escape route before you pick this artifact up. There's a turret up ahead.
I need Forger here.
He's on it.
You are not alone.
I've got your back.
Think. Plan. Don't rush.
Stop, intruder!
I'm a visitor.
Oh, really? Please, enjoy the museum.
Got it.
It's time to get out of there. No problem.
Got this, Steve.
Don't get sloppy.
Move, Norman.
Thanks, Trev. I got you.
There are my little couriers. I really wasn't sure about you initially, but you turned out much better than I could have hoped.
That's great. That was Relooted. It's releasing on February 10th on Steam and Xbox. And we're joined with the developers of the game to have a good chat about what it was like getting the game across the finish line. Hello.
Hi. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Rihanna, what'd you think of the trailer? Have you been keeping up with Relooted?
I have. This is one of my most anticipated games ever since we saw it back at the Xbox showcase. And I am really excited to get more of the story. So, Mahal, I'm really interested to hear more from you about how you came up with this concept and what you really want to say with Relooted.
So I'm an author and I work in comic books, and one day I got a call that somebody in games wanted me to write something, and I was like, I don't want to write weapons descriptions because I thought I thought that's what they wanted, do a couple of like combat shouts or whatever. And as it turned out, it was our creative director Ben Myers who said there's this game that he's had on his mind and he needs somebody to create the world and the characters. And I said, well, heisting, I would have to watch all the heist movies ever made, and that's exactly what I did. And by the time we got to building the world and creating the characters, I think I understood what the genre needed, but also what would make the story about regular people taking back African artifacts from private collections and museums, what would make that premise more interesting. And we tried to get from the very specific, we get the universal. Everybody has a family, everybody has an annoying younger sibling or cousin, an elder in our family wants us to do something important and we're like, no. So I thought, okay, well, that's definitely a place to start the story.
Wow, wonderful. And for those who are maybe introduced to the trailer for the first time, could either of you help to illuminate, like, fundamentally what is Relooted about?
So Relooted is a heist game, and it's basically regular people who are taking back African artifacts that are outside of Africa from museums and private collections and bringing them back to the continent. Right.
And the genre of the game, we're talking, we're seeing side-scrolling. This is a platformer. This is anything else that they might expect.
I think there's there's a parkour in that as well, and definitely some puzzle solving, because what happens is you first get told, because the planning phase of any heist is what's important. So you get told about what the artifact is, find out where it's being held, what are all the security, things you need to watch out for. And then the second phase is you case the joint, and you have to figure out where to use your team members, how to use them best, and you make sure that your plan is laid out carefully. You grab the artifact and you run.
That is so fun. And Bongane, I noticed that, your team has a previous game shipped and a lot of experience in the comic book realm, but what are some of your inspirations for how this game looks? Because it's so bright, so colorful, so much energy, and I just really want to hear more about how you delved into the visuals of this game.
I would say like most of the visuals come from, I would like to South African culture in general, and how like colorful our clothes are. How we have like umgwalo, which is like the patterns that are usually like are drawn by the Ndebele people in their houses. If you guys don't know about it, you can check it out. It's pretty cool, very colorful houses. So mostly like that was like the basic of it, but also in how colorful. If you go to Johannesburg, like and how colorful Johannesburg is, it has everybody from almost like every African country in a way, and they bring in such a different vibe and vibrancy of like culture and everything melting in there, but also the colors, the murals and all that. So for me, I think like Relooted, like in a nutshell, it visually it's that, like that's what inspired us. Then of course we took it to another level when we eventually turned that into a video game. Then we looked at like your Pixar films, mostly Disney films as well, in terms of the style that we wanted to go with. And we wanted something that was really colorful, that was inviting, and that felt familiar in a way, but also inspired by us here in South Africa. Yeah.
Could you say just a little bit more about the fact that not only is this the second game, but there is a stylistic leap from your first title, which is a platformer and kind of a fun play on those words, platformer, but it's a 2D game. And so what helped to influence the departure from, one art direction to another?
Cool. Well, I will clarify that like I was brought in mostly for Relooted. So Semblance, it was a different art director at the time. But you can clearly see the evolution though from what we had previously with Semblance, which was very, very, very simplified style. And it kind of also reflected the team in terms of the scale and scope that we had with it. I think Relooted in terms of ambition and scope, it's one of those titles that I think also Yamakov was like, oh my God, we've never ventured this much. We've got characters, we've got full-on PBR and all of those things, and also we're jumping into a new engine. It was something that I would say a lot of learning, a lot of I would say also realizing how much talent we do actually have in the country in terms of actually bringing people in to work on this project. So it was really good. It felt risky and scary and not usual just to go with such a style, such a look for a game. But we're happy that we actually we went with what we went, and you can kind of feel that it's very different. Also very different engines too.
Yeah, it's definitely an evolution, and one that I love. Like, I love seeing studios go from, their first out and then sort of build on that momentum and go in new and different directions. And I know that your studio has grown. Obviously, you're one of the newer additions for Relooted. But what has it been like at Nyamakop to see more people come on, to have more voices in the room, and to really expand all of the people contributing to, such a really specific vision?
Well, I think
I'll take half of this question and then I'll take half of it and then you can take the other one.
Okay, you go first.
All right. I will look at it on the art perspective side, just because I worked in like the art industry for a very long time, and I met so many like talented people. There were already people that I had in mind, and there was already like a team that I had to kind of put together. I was like the Nick Fury in a way, right? Like I had to be careful, but I was like looking for your Steve Rogers, for your Iron Man, kind of put together. But for me, it felt natural because these are people that I knew, these are people that I worked with in the industry, and these are people that I wanted to work with, in more projects with. So my experience, my time in the industry really helped out a lot to bring the people that we worked very well together, and I think it paid off very well. But Muhale, you can also add in terms of how you felt when people came in.
Well, I think what most people don't know is I think 80% of the team that worked on Relooted had never actually shipped a game before. And it was by design because our creative director wanted to put together a team unlike any other. He didn't want to keep using the same people. So we had people that were all across the continent, and we had to learn how to work remotely because most of the team is in Johannesburg, but Bongani and I are in Cape Town, but we don't have an office in Cape Town. There was somebody in Ethiopia, somebody in Ghana. So I think maybe this game took a little longer because one, we had not shipped a game before 80% of the team, but also because we had to become the team that would finish this game. And I don't like to compliment Ben, and I'm sure he's listening to this and he's going to be very happy that I'm complimenting him. But I don't like to compliment him, but he did a great job at finding the right people for what he wanted for Relooted and taking the time to actually upskill people until we were the team that could finish Relooted.
Yeah. So this makes me, what I'm thinking about, from what you had said, there's a new team. It's, a lot of them is their first commercial release. This is also an opportunity to drive or maybe refresh or revamp the studio culture as it is with everybody that you're bringing in. And so with so many different studios out there, and, everybody, all the tribulations that come with releasing a game, how does Nyama sort of define itself characteristically as a studio? What is your flavor? What is your kind of like identity in the game space, and how does that speak itself through Relooted?
I think we have a lot of fun creating African-inspired content, and I think Relooted is such a great example of that. It is colorful, it is fun, because we're all about the fun. That's why we made games. Imagine we made boring games. Ooh, how embarrassing. But also African-inspired because not most of the studios that are in South Africa don't lean too heavily on things that are African-inspired, because I think there's a little bit of like a fear around, is there an audience for African-inspired games and content? So that's what sets us apart.
Yeah.
I'm really glad you said. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying that just to also add on to that is it's also like, because like everybody mostly like they're from the continent, there was just sort of like this vibe that like everybody understood. There was a thing that we the struggles and everything, like we kind of all like understood each other. So there was a very interesting vibe at work. Like people really understood some of the decisions that we made or a direction that we took, because we're like, a character like normally would react like this, and then there was that cool synergy that was happening when we work at this. So I think there's that thing about Nyamako making games that we make as well.
I love that. And like we can tell even just from talking to you both for just a few minutes, like how good the vibes are at the 100%. Studio. And honestly, kudos to you all. That's not easy to do in this day and age, and especially in this tension in the gaming industry that everyone is working through. The fun comes through. Like you can see in the trailers, and I'm sure for people who have gotten their hands on the games, they can feel that energy. And thank you for putting people on a screen and in our hands with controllers that you saw in your real lives so that we can see them in our lives too. Like I really appreciate that representation. It makes a huge difference in an industry that really needs a lot more joy than we have right now.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
I hope we can keep, making African-inspired games for a long time.
Oh yeah,
and just have more black joy in our games. I think we should have more games that are more like that. The vibe is fun. It's just Amen. Yes, when you play the game, be in a hideout. It's funny. It's just great to see everybody just react. Yeah.
It's I'm of course not because you're just here for the interview. I've been looking forward to this game. The kind of reverse heist as a narrative structure and an idea is something that I think fundamentally is fun to think about anytime you see, I don't know, Night at the Museum or like any of those other museum oriented movies. That has been my kind of like personal takeaway. Is there any other aspect you talked about, the representation, you talked about some of the cultural aspects and colors being represented, but are there any other hopes or takeaways that you hope players will gain from engaging with Relooted once it releases, or sorry, it's already out?
You can go ahead, let's go.
So I think for me, it's we took an opportunity to imagine Africa in the future, because we don't get many opportunities like that. It's either like a fictional African country or people are being mauled by lions. Hi, Idris Elba. And this was an opportunity for us to dream. for us to say this is kind of what we would like the future to look like. And I hope people will have fun with that, because all of the African locations in the game are real, you know. So the Museum of Black Civilizations in Dakar, Senegal is real. We've got the Nelson Mandela Bridge in there. We wanted to represent Johannesburg as is. And so I hope people will get the flavor of the kind of future we're imagining, but also get the flavor of what the continent feels like.
Yeah. And I think another thing is pretty much just the big educational aspect of the game. And I think, you know, like that's the big thing that we sort of like pushing as well. It's fun to get these real artifacts and get to research about them, but also there is that very difficult part where you kind of know how these artifacts were taken, why were they taken, and the circumstances that got those artifacts to be in those museums. It's a lot to take in. I'm excited for players to find out, you know, like it's a lot, but I think it'll also bring in a lot of awareness as well. And I think they will rally behind this cause. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, the real artifacts is a big deal, because we had two researchers finding real artifacts, and we had, you know, one of the 3D artists actually make molds of these artifacts. So you get to learn about real artifacts from all over the continent, and there are some that you get to encounter that are not from Africa. I think there's like 5 of them that you get to encounter, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, man, I love that. Wow. I want to thank you both again for taking the time to share this. Like, I haven't had a chance to play yet, and I'm just so eager to get my hands like on it and reclaiming artifacts. Getting that nugget of discovering that these are all real and not just like straight up based on any of them is a huge takeaway and kind of my favorite intersection. So thank you both for sharing your time. Thank you both for even educating me in this moment about, like, you know, all the other things I'm going to learn. So this is really incredible.
Thank you very much for having us. I hope you enjoy playing Relooted.
Of course.
Yes,
and can you remind our audience again where they can pick up Relooted?
It's gonna
on
be an
Steam.
Xbox here. Yep.
Yeah, Steam and Xbox.
It's out on Steam and Xbox.
Series S and
Grab it
X.
now.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mac Kandima, and I'm a founder and narrative designer for Clockada 2. Clockada 2 is a narrative psychological thriller game about working in a toxic work environment and reliving the same day over and over again as an Afro-Latino woman named Celia. Can you survive the corporate machine known as the workplace? Eat fast food, drink lots of espressos, experience microaggressions, pray they don't fire you. Clockada 2 is all about survival. We've been working on this project for about a year now, and we've gotten some really good feedback. We've been able to showcase it both in the US and Japan and more. With the game, we've showed it at Game Devs of Color Expo, Big Fest at Black and Gaming, and GDC, as well as Gaijin Pod Expo in Tokyo. And of course, Black Voices in Gaming the previous year. We really want to create this game and to bring it out because this game really resonates with everyone, both from US, from Japan, from China, from Korea, from all over, because we can all relate to Clockada 2. We all have a Clockada 2 story. And the story of dealing with terrible bosses, conniving coworkers, and being able to somehow balance your mental health while preventing yourself from being sent to HR is something that we can all relate to and have experienced. With that being said, I want to say thank you so much. Please wishlist the game on Steam and enjoy our latest trailer. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
bear for the carry dread. Funhouse mirror, sticker ticker nearest threat. Yeah, it might be you. See clear time, might sneak through. 18-wheeler rear view maneuver like a tear to dead. Strong from spite, ice cold burning instead. Wrong or right, nice roll, fair price for the toll. Childs absorb the tone, harps a chord, it was a vibraphone. Lies get decoded, I should let you know. Find your own ride home. Debts pile on like that gold line cone. That bygones be bygones, even though I won't.
Like Lionel and Markel, silent and our weapons. We dance with the dog still. Dog skills gained by crawling to the altar. Hank first the axe and the last bullet orphan. Down walking knee pads, defense on maniac. Pin the huge slang walk, slip where your mama at. Used to drag the muffler off that 700 Cadillac. Give me fuck the orcs, cause he married to a battle axe. Gordon Ramsay New Balance. When I chef Shalal Rex, all colors riverside. AZ theme music, more murder, more homicide.
You better step off and walk your pure roach.
All right, that was Beatdown City Survivors, and we're joined by creator and head of New Challenger, good friend of mine, Sean Alexander Allen. I always love talking to you. So, what's good?
You know, just trying to finish a game. That's They always tell you, you know, when you start a game, they don't ever tell you have to finish one. And
this is real.
It's weird having shipped a lot of AAA games. And watching that like train wreck, like you never think it's gonna happen to you, like on the indie side, and then you're like, oh, all those things I wanted to get in, will they make it in? I don't know.
Right. I'm gonna hang on to that because I'm gonna hang on to it too, because we're gonna have to circle back. There's something in the trailer that's undeniable in all of the trailers, and in of course the games, of course the games, and that's hip hop. And like, you know, I'm vibing to the music as I'm vibing to what I'm looking forward to playing. But I've personally seen and have been a part of your connection to music and your connection to music and games. In your words, can you kind of share like some of the importance that places interweaving hip hop into Beatdown City Survivors and of course your other titles?
Yeah, it's kind of funny as a alt rock / new metal kid who from New York, like, and juggling like having a parent who hated graffiti, despite me being a visual artist and despite her being like kind of a hippie pro like rights and this and that.
Yeah.
I grew up in like such a very weird, I was adjacent to a lot of stuff, but like, and you know, Hot 97 made me both love and hate rap music because Hot 97's a bad radio station, and but like, you know, there was definitely something palpable. Like I think about early, like I remember Ice Water from like only built for Cuban Links playing, but I didn't know what song it was. I just remember hearing the like blasting out of people's cars. So I mean, that was like my like growing up, right? Like it's like I grew up like going to arcades and like hearing the music, like a new type of music around. Like I knew ODB's verse in Fantasy with Mariah Carey, despite never listening to it myself, right? Like the me and Mariah go back like babies. So it was just there, right? Like that was like 8th grade. I remember other kids thinking I was just weird and being like, how do you know that song? And I'm like, it plays everywhere. Like, what am I like? Or you download OPP or like, also because Bo had a game, right? So you think like Bo knows this, Bo knows that, but Bo knows Jack because Bo can't rap. Like all those things were like super important to me, even though I didn't know it. And I don't know, like I think being at Rockstar, a lot of stuff just kind of coalesced. I think I really got into, I think a lot of things were popping up. I really got into like Run the Jewels, and that really like made me really appreciate. I think there were a few things actually though, because there's a group called Rat King which actually launched their albums, and there it goes. So something, man, I can't remember. Back in 2014, so this was 12 years ago. And Baby Castle's the venue in New York, that was an art and game and like music collective. They actually paid, they worked with the record label to have a concert that actually just, you know, it had its like 20 or 10 year anniversary, and it was written up on a blog site called Nobels, and there's like pictures of the whole thing. And I'm like, Yeah, my game's on that arcade cabinet over there. Like, so Treachery and Beatdown City, like our previous game, was a part of a rap album. Like like the group broke up. Like Wiki is still really huge, but it was like a part of rap history actually.
Yeah.
So that was like one of the first like tastes, I guess. And I really liked Rat King as a group also. And it was funny because Rat King, like Wiki's on a track with Run the Jewels. So it was like a whole lot of stuff going on in like 2013, 2014. And I guess that was like the discovery of just, I don't know, something latent inside, like my love of a genre that I don't think I had already always appreciated. And oh yeah, and then I like found Show You Suck, who I've been able to work with now, right? Like I found Mega Ram back then, who I've been able to work with now. In 2015 was when I met Open Mike Eagle. I saw him open for Doomtree, and I fell in love. And I went and talked to him, and like his vibes, like because both being like a couple of years apart and having similar frames of reference, and the fact that he would like talk about Words with Friends in his game and his like reps, and he would talk about Two Dots on Twitter all the time, and I'm like, oh, I know the head of Two Dots, like and then she was like a fan of my Eagle, so then I like introduced them at a show, and this is like the weird, my worlds are colliding, like the weird indie game scene, because she'd made weird indie games, but then she's also the CEO of a mobile company that is a rapper who I'm a big fan of is a fan of that game. So it was this weird, like, it was just kind of hitting. And so I just thought, like, it was Treachery Beatdown City. It was just kind of like, yeah, like, I think I asked Mike, I was just like, yo, can we do something? And he was like, yeah, like, let me know. And it was after years of kind of talking about stuff and getting to know each other. And so that was like the real big beginning where it was like, oh, this is happening. Like when we first got the track with like Too Mellow with the Treachery Beatdown City beat, got that beat, I was like, this is amazing. And then got like the raps from Mike, and I like almost cried. And then also I think back in 2013, I was really analyzing like, where are all the Black and Latino people in the games industry, right? Like my ex-wife's Puerto Rican, her cousin, this guy Andre Charles, which is funny because that's RuPaul's name also. So if you look up Andre Charles, you may not find my former cousin, but or I don't know what happens when you get divorced, but he's a famous graffiti artist with a thing called The Famous Baby. You might have seen the art. Like if you look up The Famous Baby, it's this big baby with like a big pacifier. That's like was all over New York back in the 90s. So there's actually an article about how how the city was on this anti-graffiti campaign, and they like painted over a private wall owned by someone, right, that had commissioned a Basquiat mural from Andre Charles, and there's an article about how he felt about that, because they just got rid of art that was commissioned because the city hated hip-hop so much, right? Like, because graffiti is the art wing of hip-hop, right? And so it's actually interesting. And like an NYU event had a whole thing about breakdancing, and they talked about like, and it's like interesting how breakdancing is now like completely like removed, right? Like right partially, and like you got to really look at like, you know, the shiny suit era, the gangster rap era, and how all that stuff like removed it, like breakdancing stopped being cool, right? Like it was cool to like stand in nice clothes, maybe gesticulate into the camera, but like I think even Busta Rhymes was made fun of, so he actually toned down a lot of his like wilder antics, because people are like, you can't do that on camera. And it was like, that was what was really interesting about Busta Rhymes, that he was just gonna do whatever, right? And someone was like, you look like a fool, and it's like, nah, he looked really cool. But so it's just been interesting. So like, but that was like, there was a talk at NYU Game Center about that. I ended up making a board game about graffiti because they gave me some money, and I spent all that money on stickers and like boards. And yeah, I think looking at like the lack of Black representation in the games industry, you have to go back and look at like hip hop, which was born kind of around the same time as video games, had similar, like the fact that like the way that hip hop blew up was that there was a blackout in New York and they stole all the stuff, and now all of a sudden there was an industry really, and people couldn't afford all the stuff, but now all of a sudden they had it. So now there's an art form that is like wide as biggest art form in the world, right? Like, you know, Bad Bunny is an extension of Psy, right? Like Gundam Style, like that's a rap song, like because he loves rap music, right? Like K-pop is black music, right?
Wait,
like,
but what I'm hearing is like the only reason I interjected is because there's so many nuggets that
I was about to bring it back.
But I heard like all these different like really special nuggets that are in characteristic of the game and like your relationship to games and your relationship to synthesizing like hip hop and culture into these experiences, that it ends up in itself being like very indicative of your sensibilities, like where you seat yourself in terms of the industry. And so I kept at each juncture there was like a moment of this being yet another cross-cultural intersection, you know, of like hip hop and games. And I think that that's really spectacular. Getting to the actual question that I want to ask in relationship to that is because of first of all, it's impressive the damn near encyclopedic history that you maintain about like those different experiences, because I think I'm not trying to seal the deal in my own memory, but it's not as good as that. And so how do you balance the experiences that you have gone through, the experiences that you want to share and compact, and wrestle with which ones to like characterize and synthesize into the game? Because when we see a title like Beatdown City Survivors or Treachery in Beatdown City, there is a nuance and there's a specificity that is both tongue-in-cheek, it's poignant, it's very observant. And so it really comes down to like, when you have it all in front of you, like which one do you pick? And so how do you balance putting so much personality and attention to detail into your game?
I guess wrapping around back to Beatdown City Survivors, the biggest thing, like, you know, we had to make that game, the prototype, for 3 months. And, you know, part of it was I don't know, like I grew up like not knowing music, but games became the art form for me. And you know, having worked with people in the past and whatever, I was making this game. We were making it very quickly. We were using a lot of asset flips for, especially in the beginning, and just trying to get it. And it was interesting because we're building a city and we're trying to build it like, again, like I think a lot about like graffiti and rap music, how they had to, it was so DIY, we had to make this, and it was a thing about the city falling apart, which was also what rap music started off as. And then I was like, I made a lot of graffiti for that game, the board game, but also that went into Treachery Beatdown City. I tried to make like realistic graffiti that would feel like it belonged in the world, even if it was like we have Darkest Dungeon graffiti because they were big supporters of us at the beginning, or Iron Galaxy.
That's tight.
We have a Team GFB because that was Dave Lang's whole thing. And we've got we got actually a lot of Chicago stuff in there because that was just who supported our Kickstarter. But I studied like how I have like graffiti books like that I study to be like, how do we make real graffiti look good? Like, and how to make it not look like we stole from several different graffiti artists, but then also try to not steal someone's style. Like, be like, what's the point of the stars on the corners? What's this? What's that? Like, so, and so, I mean, that's been like my journey. And then, so like, we want to put that in the background, like Treachery Beatdown City. We want to put like, digs at things in our life in the background. So we put some of those things in. But then, I think the big next step that we did for this game was that we have a whole licensed album. We have 3 licensed albums in the game. And part of it was I was sitting there and I was like, yo, what do I do for music? And I was playing the game and I was trying to listen to stuff and I was like, oh, this sounds good, this is okay, just trying to get a vibe. And 2013's He Left Nothing for the Swimback, who by Sketch 185, I also previously was I'm still working on a bunch of other things, like, so where I was like trying to include music artists and stuff, and that stuff didn't get funded. But then I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go listen to this album. Like, and He Left Nothing for a Swimback has this like, I don't know, this post-industrial, like some of the songs, like, are industrial, like dark, growly songs, and then some are more of a throwback to like Def Jux, like boom bap stuff, but it still feels like postmodern in that sense. Like it feels post Def Jux, right? And especially because Sketch's voice like is so powerful. And I just started listening to that album while playing the game. I was like, oh yeah, this because he grew up in Chicago, lives in New York now, but like, and it's funny because we were talking recently and he was like, yeah, you remind me of like the people we used to hang out with. And I'm like, Chicago is very much the sister city to New York now, living here, seeing like that the grime and the vibes are very much the same in a lot of ways, and I appreciate a lot of that. And so like I feel like we not the same experience, but like the experiences come through, and like his like the hoarse voice aggression just I don't know, it pierces, and just like the doom, 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 like all that stuff. I was like, yeah, like yo, this is the game, like this is that like post the zombie apocalypse like game soundtrack. And then Nobody Playing to Leave by Shrapnel, who I'd just heard of. Like I think I saw Sketch for the second time opening for Billy Woods while Shrapnel opened, and I was like, who are these guys? Two guys, one of the best duos out there. Like Clips ain't got nothing on Shrapnel, honestly. Shrapnel put out 3 albums in the same time last year, whereas Clips put out 1 that was not as good. And they had 3 different producers, which was crazy. But yeah, Controller 7's vision, and I listened to a podcast of Controller 7, also fairly tall dude out in San Francisco. We got to meet right after GDC actually last year, and yeah, nice guy. Just but like listening to how he put together that album, I was like, yeah, like this album has all these, that which is it's a Worry Doll in the trailer that was just from Shrapnel, and just it has this like the beat switch is crazy because it switches to a different artist, but like it's still the same song, it's the same song, like the piano stuff is still similar, and like there's all these like it's just super dynamic, and it has this just this again it's the dystopian soundtrack that I was hearing. And so I was going to New York. I'd already been talking to Sketch a little bit. I came out to Chicago to see back when I was living in Georgia at the time, and I was kind of bouncing around, and a lot of the time of just hanging out with these guys like made me a familiar face. And so I took out, like I went out with Prem Rock, I went out with Sketch 25 for lunch when I knew I had the sign thing, because I sent out the demo for the game to pitch, not signing anything because I don't own anything. So I'm like, there's no money in this yet, really. So like, why pay for anything yet? And I haven't had to like talk to a composer yet, right? Like, and so yeah, like just honestly diving in and being a real big appreciator and supporter of the space, and it's helped open my mind to see what like New York's underground is and what kind of more of the world is, because these guys work with people all over the world, and they travel all over the world. And so just being a big enthusiastic person, and there's a big appreciation for games in the space, and so just I was like, hey man, would you be interested for this amount? I know it's not a lot. And I keep getting, oh, you're very generous. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, like I thought like, I could pay X amount for X amount of minutes for a composer and maybe not get what I want. Or I could work with these guys who made something that I could also try to share with the world. And then the other thing was like in February of last year, like I was moving to Chicago, right? Like I came out here to close on the house and went to go see Kenny Siegel perform with Benjamin Booker, and he had just released Genuine Dexterity with KVI the year, like in December, was the end of December, and it's this winter album that's just, I don't know, it snuck up and became one of my favorite albums of the year at the end of December, which is like to the point where on Bandcamp it was featured in January, because they were like, yo, we got to feature this album because it came out after we did our December wrap up, and it's too good. And again, like Kenny Siegel, and it's got Billy Woods on it, it's got Relooted, and Sketches has Billy Woods, like it's all these guys are all working together, and they're just, I don't know, they have this like clarity of the world that has like this like downtrodden optimism, if that makes any sense. Like, you know, Billy
Right.
Woods' stuff is called Afro pessimism, a lot of stuff, but it's also funny. It drives and it deals with city stuff, it deals with sports, it deals with interpersonal relationships. It's not about money grubbing or anything. It's because these guys are just real human beings just trying to live their lives. And I feel like that's what Beatdown City Survivors is people who just trying to live their lives.
Yeah.
City's trying to kill you. And it just came together. And yeah, I asked Kenny because Kenny had already played Treacher Beatdown City, so that's actually how we were able to, because of the whole, I think, open mic, like all this stuff just kind of looped around to the point where one of the best producers in the world, the way I introduced myself was he saw I had my Lisa shirt from Treacher Beatdown City, and he was like, "Oh, I know that game. I played that game. I like that game." And I was like, "Oh wow, that's like an interesting." And then Kenny was just like, "Yeah, like, yeah, we totally want to be a part of this." Like it was like this. Just genuine dexterity. It was like this genuineness, and then KVI also was just like, yeah, absolutely, right? Like people are just like, and yeah, that year and in December of that year of 2024, in a year where I hadn't gotten a yes for anything, I put out that pixel art thing of the Backwoods Studios people because I just really appreciated all the work they were doing, and they showed so much love to that. That I think that also catalyzed a lot of this conversation, right? Because it was like, oh, and they didn't treat me like a fan making art, right? They treated me like a fellow creator making art that was like, it's fan art obviously, but it's like fellow creator art. Like there was like comments like, yo, this should be a mixtape album cover or something like that,
right?
And or like a record label mixtape album cover. And I was like, and that, like, I don't know, that was another one of those like very emotional moments, because in a year where the games industry kept telling me, no, we don't want this, we don't want that, blah blah blah, these guys were like, we love everything that you're doing and we want to be a part of whatever you're going to do in the future. And thankfully, you know, Xbox was able to come in and help us out with the money we need to work on Beatdown City Survivors. And then I immediately went and I said, okay, I got to look at this budget, cut out this amount, offer what is comfortable, even if it's slightly uncomfortable, but like, because I value this stuff so much. But I tried to look at it on like a percentage amount, and everyone was like, yeah. And I was like, and it's also inspired by working at Rockstar, you know, like we worked with, I got to be around while a lot of people came in and out of the studio. Like Funkmaster Flex walked into our studio to get on a phone call with Busta Rhymes because they were going to record the phone call. And I was like, man, I hate Funkmaster. To the point where, I mean, anybody hear him interrupting Black Thought or Vince Staples, and I like the fact that Tyler the Creator really dug into him when they did the freestyle. But it's just funny, like the fact that I'm working there and I'm like, yo, this dude that's been annoying me on the radio for years just walks into my spot, right? Like, so I think, yeah, just a lot of stuff has come together to put me in the place that I'm in. And the thing that we did mostly was music, but I want to one day talk more about how I actually have been really using the full level, the full depth and breadth of hip hop in the way I've been trying to construct the video game.
Yeah.
But that's a deeper talk that I need to like share at some point.
There's in kind of closing out, there's what I grab and again, you know, being a friend, gratefully a good friend of yours, understanding of your passion for human connection, and it really does exude in all of the stories that you share and how they continuously correlate with one another, and how it now correlates into the games that you're building. And so I really do look forward to not only getting to experience the game through that lens, but just see what is going to follow Beatdown City Survivors when you are continuously like polishing and honing this ethos around like culture and connection and breathing, you know, hip hop throughout all of it, because, you know, fundamentally you're conveying a thesis around like hip hop being the human connection, and I think that's really dope. Where can people look forward to grabbing their copy of Beatdown City Survivors?
Yes, Beatdown City Survivors coming out like Q1-ish, like 2026 on Steam, Xbox, you know, wherever the family of Xboxes are. Not sure about other consoles quite yet. And yeah, that's basically it right now.
Word. I appreciate it. Thank you, Sean. It's always good.
What's up? DJ Knight, full-time space and sci-fi streamer, and I'm somebody who plays a lot of indie games. One thing I like about indie games in general is that indie games typically have the ability to put out more interesting game experiences than you get from the traditional AAA space, because the AAA space requires a lot of tried and true formulas for the boardrooms to approve projects. Indie games have a lot more capability of going into weird or different segments, bring out new game mechanics than you typically get in the industry. Then when you add in Black indie game devs, you get a lot more culturally significant, interesting experiences that have the potential to change people's understandings about a lot of different things. Now let's check out another great selection of game spotlights.
Hello all, I'm Akabaka, the lead developer for the horror dating sim series Sucker for Love. The series has been a lot of fun to work on, and as a challenge, I decided to try to add in as much player feedback from all of the previous titles and see if I can roll it into one entry for the third game in the series. And so, Sucker for Love's back. You know, it's a classic, funny, horror-packed romp through the Lovecraftian mythos, but it's got a fresh coat of paint. It's full of new features, a lot of quality of life improvements. It's got an all-new story. This time it's centered around the Lovecraftian entity, the Color Out of Space, which is a strange meteorite that crash lands on Earth and starts draining the life and color out of everything around it. You know, super spooky, it's super funny. So if you like anime, especially 90s anime, Lovecraftian horror, or dating sims, this game is a love letter to all three. So please enjoy.
Dark. I am color from dark.
I just might be able to help with that.
Whatever you do, please just stay alive for like 15 minutes.
I think I saw pictures in my head. Was I dreaming? Dreaming. That sounds crazy. Androids don't dream. But it felt so real. I mean, I was so powerful. You should have seen me. I was flinging and tossing stuff. There were all these machines I've never seen before. And there were other androids like me. I'm not the only one. But the ones in charge, they didn't seem like they were up to any good. The more I learned about their plans to turn us into weapons, I knew I had to use anything I could to stop them. So I got stronger. Stronger than they designed me to be.
That was Prism, the hero of our Afrofuturistic action-adventure game. In this power fantasy, play as Prism and generate magnetic fields to bend the environment to your will. Hurl objects towards your enemies, drain momentum from incoming projectiles, and propel yourself through maze-like platforming. With every attack, power up your tiers of magnetic strength to become limitless. Prism's narrative is a coming-of-age story inspired by Black girlhood filled with 90s nostalgia. Prism features a cel-shaded art style to resemble 90s anime and the soundtrack with a modern twist on 90s R&B and hip-hop. We're sharing our development process so you can join us along our journey. Follow us on our socials as we post our new art, music, and gameplay footage.
I'm Hassani, and I've been working on a video game for the past 6 months now. I decided for some random reason that I wanted to give Mega Man X a try. Literally the first time I played it in my life. But for whatever reason, I kept playing, kept trying, kept dying, and before you know it, I was hooked. What an experience that game was. I think I know what I want to make now. So immediately I started looking for all of the courses, all of the tutorials, any kind of material that will help me get my project started. I began tinkering, experimenting with my own interpretations of what my Mega Man feeling game would look like. It was a non-stop cycle of brainstorming, experimenting, testing, polishing, and rinse and repeat. So on this list, there's things like, how do I get the player to hang on a ledge? How do I get him to mantle the ledge? What should the jump strength be when he's jumping off of the ledge? Getting the player to climb. Oh my God, getting the player to climb was one of the biggest tasks, and almost got me so frustrated that I almost didn't want to work on the game anymore. Here's one that I like the most: making the tank on his back look kind of like liquid when he's moving. One thing that I found interesting is that there's a noticeable difference in when I'm testing the game and when I give it to somebody else to test. You know, like, I guess because I know where everything is, I know how everything works, I kind of play through the game really fast, and there's a lot of things that I don't really notice. But when I give it to someone like, you know, my girlfriend or my friends or any just random stranger, they'll take the game just a little bit slower, and they'll take their time, and they're figuring things out. And man, you wouldn't believe how many bugs I'll find from that, or all these different quality of life improvements that can be made, or just ways to just speed up the game. Yeah, it's been an experience. I love watching other people play, and yeah, I think that's the best way to, you know, find ways to improve. It's funny because at the very beginning I thought it looked so awesome, but now I'm like, oh man, now it's looking really crazy. So I'm looking forward to where it will be in the next 6 months.
I'm so pleased to like get to check out this trailer. Avatar is at the top of the list with like, for my family, with like Steven Universe, Avatar, like we run that back. And so it's so exciting to be joined by you, Victor Lugo, representing Gameplay Group, to learn more about this project. Thank you for joining us on Black Voices in Gaming.
Thank you for having me. It's good to see you all.
Absolutely. Let me now tell me just real quick, right up front, Avatar. So obviously for many, the audience, myself included, questions are coming up like, what is it like? Can you help illuminate getting to work with such a famous IP?
Absolutely. So Avatar is, I think if you grew up anywhere from if you're a millennial or younger, you're appreciative of Avatar. It kind of came up late 2000s, and it was super impactful. I think right now, if you look up like some of the most influential cartoons ever, for anybody, like I said, that is millennial or younger, you're gonna have things like X-Men, you're gonna have Batman, but Avatar is gonna be on everybody's list just because it was so well written. It is so well choreographed and well thought out, and it just kind of came out of nowhere. People literally had no idea this thing was coming. It was just its own type of cult hit that was really, really popular. For us, it's a dream come true to work on Avatar. So we are we're a bunch of nerds that just love fighting games, to be honest with you. Just about everybody from our design team to our engineers all the way to our marketing team has either worked on multiple fighting games or spent their whole life playing or modding fighting games. So for us to be able to kind of build our first fighting game as part of Gameplay Group and hitch our wagons to Avatar it's just a dream. It's just a dream. We love everything about it. It never gets old. We watch the clips every day. We talk about it every day. And just to be able to build this world and build out the lore and interact with the team at Avatar Studios and Paramount to learn more about the franchise and bring it to life and just show it in a different way that you would typically see on the TV shows. It's just been a dream for us.
So I know we have a lot of nerdy questions on the tips of our tongues, and Derek will jump in with one in just a second. But before we get super deep into it, Victor, can you tell us about what your team structure is like? I mean, a lot of folks have championed, the AA space in recent years, and we have a lot of solo devs out there, but this is a big game with a lot of expectations. So what is the team making it look like?
The team, if you noticed in the trailer, the game itself is 2D hand-drawn. We are very big advocates of that particular style because it does certain things that 3D fighting games don't do. Our game is built from the ground up using our own proprietary engine, the Avari engine. We think it's the best 2D engine in the world, and it does some really special things in terms of how we process pixels and lighting and do interactions in 2D. It's purpose-built for fighting. The reason that's important is because it allows us to do very special things in 2D. I'm getting to your answer, but the point is the composition of the team are people who love working in this particular space. We have a lot of 2D animators. We have a lot of rough animators and 2D artists. We also have about 8 designers. All of them are technical designers, creative director, and then we have a production staff who kind of supports the team so that they can cook most of the time. Their goal is just to get stuff out of the way of the team so that they can draw and build and tune the game all day. And it seems to be working out pretty good. Right now there are around 50 of us. I think we just pulled in like 3 rough animators last week to kind of get some more frames into those characters, get some more life into the characters. But that's the general composition: artists, designers, engineers, and a few producers. We don't have a ton. We're not like management heavy or anything. We're just passionate. I guess that's the best way to say it.
Yeah, the passion and the energy that you are, sort of championing for your team right now is like without a doubt resonating through this conversation. You've already shared so much that I have been clinging to nuggets for an effort to make sure that I stay succinct, because if you say something and I'm like, oh man, I get really excited about that too. For now, I understand that prior to this title, and you said it earlier, that this is one of your first titles as Gameplay Group, but prior to, Gameplay Group has been operating as a publisher. Am I understanding correctly? And so what was the transition like from publisher to developer? Did you have to? What was there like a still moment where you're like, all right, we're ready to make something? Was there an overlap period where you had some teams kind of like slowly offloading into the next thing? For those who are out there that are aspiring to maybe transition into their own title or build larger teams, I think getting to understand a little bit of that might be helpful.
Sure. So we believe it or not, we kind of did it all in one fell swoop. So to give a little bit of background about Gameplay Group, we are a team who in an effort to kind of help the gaming industry, we look for games that either need help getting across the line, and we use our expertise in gameplay to help those teams. We find that generally, and this is just a general statement, not always true, but generally games that score below 80 tend to have some fundamental gameplay issues. So that's kind of the premise of how we started. But as we were kind of on the hunt for games that we could make better, we realized that there were also games that were canceled for one reason or another. And sometimes some of those canceled games are a diamond in the rough. If a department has to shut down a whole studio, there may be one or two games in there that really didn't deserve to be shut down. Most of them don't anyway, but in this case, that's what happened with Avatar. And that's also what happened with the games that we published. So we've been around for almost a year. And part of what we did as our first effort was just kind of look for those games that we wanted to support. In that effort, we managed to pick up a whole portfolio of fighting games from another publisher. 2 were already out. The goal with those is to support them as the publisher, continue to support the community for those games, and they are fighting games as well. And in parallel, we're developing Avatar, the fighting game. So we're actually doing both. And so we're having to learn very quickly the ins and outs of working with various publishers while we do development. But lucky for us, most of us are 20 and 30-year veterans, so we're just all kind of bringing what we know to the table. Publishing's probably the most nuanced in terms of having to deal with multiple platforms. I'm more comfortable in development, but we have somebody for just about everything.
And speaking of the tenure on your team, that's something that is so valuable, right? You almost can't put a price on it. How are you and your cohort taking those lessons and implementing them for Avatar Legends so that you don't make any of those mistakes that you've seen before?
Well, we take it very seriously, and we do apply all of the lessons that we've learned. Just about all of us have worked on some level of double or AAA game. For us, one of the things that we make sure that we continue to focus on is just the priorities and the user base that we're trying to reach. We're making this game for not only fighting game fans, but also for Avatar fans. And we really have to lean into what they are going to want and what they are going to appreciate when we develop these things. We are fortunate enough to have a wonderful IP to work with. And for us, it's about making sure that we stay true to it. We continue to communicate with Paramount and Avatar Studios to make sure that we are doing justice to the Avatar IP. And beyond that, we just like to stay on time and on budget, just like any other good development team. But luckily, I think we didn't bite off more than we could chew with this one. We knew what we wanted to make, and it's working out pretty well for us. So
yeah. From what I've seen in the trailer, the game is beautifully crafted. It feels like looking at an Avatar cartoon, and so clearly, so much work is being poured into those animations and making sure that the feel and look of it's right. Speaking of feel and look, another component to Avatar that is monumental is getting to see like all of the fighting being referential to traditional fighting styles and things like that. And so as far as like martial arts goes and your collaboration with Paramount, how do you go about like making sure that you are to the degree of Avatar representing the fighting styles that are like inspirational of martial arts? What reality, what fantasy kind of intertwines in what we end up playing?
That's a fantastic question. So first of all, the very first thing we did was make sure we had plenty of reference, and it wasn't just, hey, I need reference shots from every angle of the characters. It was, hey, we want to understand the particular art that you were looking to capture when you were developing the characters. We obviously know that Aang has more of a kung fu style versus I can't say that, versus other characters who may have more karate-based styles.
Got
You'll
it.
see soon enough. An interesting thing about our team is that in addition to the fact that we love fighting games, you tend to find that fighting game people like martial arts in general. My background is in boxing and mixed martial arts. That's actually how I started making video games. My first game was developing mixed martial arts for EA Sports and helping craft what eventually became the UFC franchise. I then moved on to Killer Instinct, which is where I met my art director, who is now on this team. He is classically trained in Kung Fu and Wushu. And we actually spent years together working on KI, and there were lots of martial artists there. And we took the same workflow that we had there to this particular product, where we said, here's what I know about the craft. Because we're now more of a remote environment, we take videos, we take images of us doing various forms and techniques, and we share them with the team, we share them with the animators. When we were together, we would actually work these things out and kick over chairs and do all kind of crazy stuff in the office. But now we do our best to kick over chairs in our house remotely. But a lot of us have martial arts backgrounds. Like our marketing guy was in kickboxing. Just a ton of us either doing fighting for fun or like through gaming or through actual mixed martial arts or martial arts. So yeah, that's our background. And what it does is just really create an appreciation for the craft, and we make sure that we do the styles justice, not even just for the sake of Avatar, but for the sake of people who are fans of those particular martial arts.
And I'm curious to know, there are a lot of opinions, I will say, in the FGC and in and around balance, right? And so you see something like Avatar inspiring a fighting game, and we've seen other iterations, and people are expecting either, like you said, a hardcore fighting game or an Avatar fantasy simulator. And what do you say to fans who are expecting to see, I don't know, the super secret scroll techniques, or they want to fly across the what is it, the field with fire jets or something like that? Like you have to dial back a little bit of the super powered elements, and you can't have, Korra just spirit bend everybody and then the match is over. So how do you work that out?
I am really glad you asked that question. That is one of the things that is very, very critical to our approach to fighting games. First and foremost, it is an Avatar game. It is a game not just for fighting game fans, but for Avatar fans. So we want to make sure we capture all the wish expectation that you have with respect to the characters. So our approach to fighting games is actually what I would consider a more classic approach. As you can see, our game is a classic fighting game. We don't do air blocking or anything like that, but we take a classic approach to fighting games. We also take an approach that values authenticity with respect to the IP and escapism over complete balance. And what you find in the fighting game community, in the fighting game industry right now, is that a lot of the games trend towards being esport ready day one. Which means they have to kind of dial back some of their systems for the sake of overall balance. Because if you launch and you say we're esport ready, and you find that there are some exploits or some infinites, people aren't going to be happy. That is not our approach at all. Our approach is to go absolutely insane with our fighting systems and create emergent systems so that people can find things and bring the community along with us, so that we can kind of discover the ins and outs of what makes it balanced together. But it's not a day one process for us. Fun comes first, authenticity comes first. And when the game eventually comes out, it'll be out this summer. The goal is to do updates and patches every 4 to 6 weeks anyway. So over the course of the year, we'll take people on the journey with us where we find that balance, but we never want to deprive fun or emergence in fighting games for the sake of balance. That's not our approach. You'll never see that from any game with gameplay group. You're going to have fun first. You're going to have lots of discovery. You may discover some things that are too powerful. We'll dial them back eventually, but that's not where we're going to start.
Yeah. There was something really special that I was holding on to as you were explaining what is expected of developing a fighting system in a nuanced fighting game community. And you mentioned a journey, and you mentioned a community. You mentioned them being able to inform aspects from the game. is there, in your mind, an ideal outcome about how you build a relationship with a fighting game community that's going to come in passionate about Avatar? I'll use an example. It famously, No Man's Sky, not a fighting game, had a community that lambasted the game for its lack of content that was originally promised when it came out. Yet now there's a community that is championing this game at every turn, at every update, and making discernible impact based on how they provide critique and things like that. So what would you like from your community? Is it you sent out a poll and everybody voted on the character, or you caught a trend of people talking about things and you started to work that into the game? Do you have any of those types of dreams, hypotheses, just day thinking?
Well, all of the examples that you said, we definitely want to happen, from community involvement around characters who end up in the game, to balance. But I think first and foremost, we want to build a community that allows fighting game fans and Avatar fans to coexist. We want them to get along. We want them to kind of build relationships and enjoy their time in the game, regardless of what their entry point was. That's first and foremost. So we put a lot of features in the game that that'll allow our players to share, allow them to share kind of their combos, allow them to share their time online, allow them to communicate better. And there's some special sauce that I can't quite talk about just yet that'll allow people who are advanced fighting game fans to teach people who are more novice fans how to play the game better. That said, we also have a very simple control scheme. We have a 4-button control scheme, and we also put things into the game that I'll get you guys in the next closed alpha, but that actually rewards you for doing things that have everything to do with the character and very little to do with traditional fighting game mechanics. For example, if you play as Korra, we actually help you build chi gauge by being more aggressive, because we know Korra is a bit of a hothead, versus Aang, which has his own set of kind of mini quests within the round that you achieve that make them fight better. So for us, we want people talking about those things. We want them to build community around it. And as that community grows, we will have our ground to the ear. We already have a really spirited Discord space. We already have a really spirited kind of forum where people can communicate. And we also are starting to bring on people from the community to help us with some of our internal testing and previewing, and we'll do that periodically. We had a really successful closed alpha in December. But yeah, we just really want people to love the game, and if I have it my way, this is just me selfishly, the Avatar fans will actually start to appreciate why we in the FGC are so fanatical about fighting games. And I don't think we've seen that except for maybe one case with Dragon Ball Fighters, but we actually want to bring more casual people in because the target audience for Avatar tends to skew pretty wide, but it starts quite young.
No, as a one of those people that you need to woo into the fighting game community, all I need is a Fire Ferret's costume. As long as you give me that skin, I'm in. So that's your hook for me.
Noted.
That's an excellent touch. We are just about to wrap up. Victor, every single answer that you've given has allowed us to very easily ask such engaging questions. So I really appreciate how expansive you've been about some of the details to this game. Before we wrap up, of course, please remind us where we can look forward to Avatar. But is there anything else that you want to give to fans who now know that this game is on the horizon?
So yes. Avatar will be on every platform. Look for it on PlayStation, Xbox, Steam, Nintendo Switch, PC, whatever format you want. The goal is to make sure that everybody can play. Also, you'll be able to cross-play with people, and our netcode is fantastic. Let's get that out the way. Beyond that, I think if you're both a fan of fighting games or Avatar, our goal is to give you something every month. From this point forward that you can kind of sink your teeth into. So up until launch, you'll see new trailers. We'll do various conventions where you can hear us kind of talk through our process from either the design standpoint or the artistic standpoint. But we'll be presenting something every month. Our goal is to try to break the internet around this time next month with some of your favorite characters from Avatar and a really cool trailer. And then beyond that, we have some other announcements that'll be absolutely insane. I would say by March, we're going to do something very special that you probably haven't seen before with respect to fighting games. So I can't wait to share that. Maybe we'll hop back on and talk through it when it happens, because it's going to be really special.
Heck yeah, I'll be getting my roster ready.
Awesome.
Right on. Thank you so much, Victor. It's a pleasure to chat with you.
Thank you. And you all have a great weekend, and I can't wait to see you all playing online. Look for me. I'm Infinity the Boss.
Oh, you're about to get all the that was risky. You're about to get all the friend requests now. Word.
Hey everyone, I'm Data Dave, a voice actor and content creator that runs Database TV, a Twitch live stream focusing on experiencing story games and honestly just having a good time together as a community. So far though, I hope you all have really enjoyed this, because seeing all the creativity poured into these Black-led indie games has been amazing. Personally, getting a chance to see all these games remind me on why I love seeing diversity represented. We each have our own unique stories and perspectives to tell, so showcasing it and supporting it is very important, and honestly, it feels good. But with that said, we have one more set of trailers and an exciting new announcement coming up next. So definitely enjoy, and I'll be watching it with you. See you later.
Yo, my name's Ethan Red, founder and creative lead of Virtuoso Neo Media. We're an independent production house based in New York City focused on creating optimistic video games from the brightest future. Today I have not just one, not two, but 3 video games to show you that we've been cooking up, 2 of which you can play today. Shout out to BVIG, and stay tuned for more.
So we have talked to some incredible developers today, and I'm feeling inspired, but more than anything, excited to play all of these games. Derek, how do you feel these conversations went today?
I've had a blast. I mean, you saw me earlier. One of them almost brought me to tears. So it's been wonderful to get a chance to chat with these developers, see all these amazing titles. I mean, for me, it's like a fantastic reminder how many of us are pushing pixels, verting vertices, and flipping flips. I'm just going to make up words at this point, but we're going with it. Thank you so much to all the developers who have contributed to our showcase today. And for those of you watching, don't forget to wishlist the games. It's a huge impact to developers who are getting discovered. Justin, back to you to wrap up the show.
Thank you so much, Rihanna and Derek. You guys are awesome. And thank you guys for tuning in. It wouldn't be anything without your support. So thank you. Also, we want to thank our sponsors, broadcasting sponsors, Twitch, IGN, and GameSpot, and our sponsors for helping to make this happen, ID at Xbox, Alchemy Labs, and of course, Raw Fury. You guys are super awesome. If you want to see more from Black Voice in Gaming, check out blackvoiceandgaming.org for all the games and news about what we're doing. Also, everywhere else on BVI Gaming. We will see you soon. You guys are awesome. Thank you and peace.